Fantrax Fantasy Football Mailbag episode heading into Week 8. If you were to target one free agent tight end in PPR leagues for rest of season, who would it be? I like Trey McBride, who's been trending up the last 2 weeks. He had 5 and then 6 targets, 62 receiving yards in Week 6. This guy had an amazing profile in college. 2021 Colorado State, he caught 90 passes for 1,121 receiving yards in 12 games. Those are big wide receiver numbers. And now you have Zach Ertz on the IR. Trey McBride could be a guy that could be a weekly starter. Do we think Roschon can take that backfield away from Foreman now? And if yes, how long do we think it will take now? We'll go with that first question there. So a huge Week 7 for Deonta Foreman with Khalil Herbert on the IR and Roschon Johnson still recovering from a concussion. Foreman rushed the ball 16 times for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions for 31 yards, and another touchdown, 33 fantasy points. We've seen this Deonta Foreman back when he was in Carolina after the Christian McCaffrey trade, and also in Tennessee when Derrick Henry was injured. Weeks 2 through 5, though, Deonta Foreman was a healthy scratch, while Roschon Johnson, the rookie, was actually playing football. In 4 out of 5 of Roschon Johnson's games played, he's rushed for 4+ yards per carry. Roschon Johnson opened up the season scoring a rushing touchdown and catching 6 passes. Do I think that Roschon Johnson can be the lead back for the Chicago Bears this season? I absolutely do. I truly believe that. But I also think Deonta Foreman, after last week, earned himself a bit of a role, especially if Khalil Herbert is out. And when all 3 of these guys are in the mix, don't be surprised if it's somewhat of a 3-man show. I truly don't know if any of the 3 will ever be a complete workhorse without one of the other 2 getting a decent amount of touches on a weekly basis. So this is kind of like a yes, but might be a committee. Do you think Akers takes Madison's starting job? So in Week 7, Akers played 39% of the snaps. That was a season high for him. 12 touches with 61 scrimmage yards. Madison played 53% of the snaps, 10 touches, 42 scrimmage yards. Madison has been pretty inefficient in plenty of games this season while getting the volume. They might just have a hot hand approach in Minnesota with a committee. I don't know if either one of those guys will completely push the other one out of work. Can Cam Akers become the 1A to Madison's 1B, though? I think so, sure. The guy finished 2022 hot with 3 straight games over 100 yards rushing. And when you give one guy plenty of opportunity and he doesn't do a ton with it, somebody else comes in and does something, I think there is a good chance that Cam Akers becomes the 1A. If Cousins got traded to the Jets, would his fantasy value increase? I don't think so. I think that we've seen some positive reports on Justin Jefferson. He is a better wide receiver than Garrett Wilson. And then we go down the list, TJ Hawkinson or Tyler Conklin. It's TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, or whoever the wide receiver 2 is with the Jets. It's clearly Jordan Addison. I think the weapons are much better in Minnesota than they are with the Jets. Maybe the Jets would win more games, but if we're talking straight fantasy football value, he's good where he's at. With the Vikings win over the Niners and kind of saving their season and easier schedule next few weeks, does Jefferson come back Week 10? We just saw positive reports about Justin Jefferson. I think he does. I think even if they're losing, he comes back and plays. I think Justin Jefferson is going to go down as a Hall of Fame wide receiver, and he's playing for his legacy at the end of the day. So I think he's going to want to be on the field. He's going to want to put up numbers. He's going to want to perform and get the stats. I squeaked out a victory despite a ton of buys and injuries. Looking ahead, do you believe in any of the following? Josh Downs, Josh Reynolds, Cam Akers. So we already looked at Cam Akers and talked about him. Let's talk about Josh Downs, though. 4 out of 5 of his last games played, he's had 13+ fantasy points. He had 12 targets in Week 3, 97 receiving yards in Week 5, and then a touchdown in Week 6. These were all indicators that something bigger might be coming, and that's what happened in Week 7. He caught 5 passes for 125 receiving yards and a touchdown, 23.5 fantasy points. Josh Downs has been showing us flex value. I think he can be that rest of season. Not super into Josh Reynolds. Jameson Williams had a goose egg, but he did have 6 targets. I think there's a good chance that Jameson Williams becomes the downfield threat for the Lions over Josh Reynolds. Thank you guys for the questions. Be sure to follow the Fantrax socials for consistent fantasy football content.